Want to welcome everybody. Welcome to this live stream of the C.O.Visit. And welcome everybody who's already tuned in. I really do appreciate that. Colin here with my trusty coffee. And Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I still have a little bit of a cough, but I'm feeling better.
That's good. Yeah, on your way to recovery though, at least.
Yeah.
Have you been working? You back to work and everything, or?
That's the thing. I never stopped working.
Oh, you never did. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. That must have been brutal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us that's already here. Thank you for this, joining us for this special edition of the C.O.Visit Live. And we're going to be, as you can see in the title, speaking out against CSA. And as always, in general, creating awareness and looking into some details based on kind of some of the comments that we typically see, comments that come up on some of my videos. And because of those comments, you really have to look more into it. You can't take at face value just what people see, because people will spin things to their convenience, especially when we're talking about the Watchtower apologetics. So anybody that is a active witness that comes on our channels, even when it comes to this topic, they want to spin things in their favor. They do not want to accept responsibility for anything, and that's a common thread that we see throughout the entire organization, which is really an amazing thing. You would think that on this issue, since Jehovah's Witnesses have absolutely no problem in criticizing other religions for their handling of CSA, you would think that if they found out things like that about their own religion, then it would be exactly the same. They would apply that, but then all of a sudden they want to start justifying everything. So we're going to go through with Jeff here helping me out. We're going to talk about, and I just get his viewpoint on a few things that came up that were just kind of funny. So all these people like the Ron Hansons and the critics and these are the usernames that these people use. I hope you're watching. This is for you, okay? Because the things that you said in your comments about the CSA and some different things, we're not going to just take that at face value. We do our homework and we look at it, and we are going to debunk the vile lies that have been said on this topic. So, but let's go one by one though. First of all, one thing that was said very interesting about the congregation and about the elders. The comment that was made, first of all, is that the Jehovah's Witness elders are no longer handling cases of CSA. That was one of the comments. What do you think about that, Jeff?
For one, where do they get that from? And number two, if the others aren't handling it, who is?
Right. Exactly. And your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. So evidently that person, which I guess if they are an active witness, they probably haven't ever read the Shepherd the Flock of God manual, because they most certainly are handling those cases. Okay. So that to me just that got a laugh out of me. Okay, that though the JW elders are not handling cases of CSA. Well, like you just said, who is then? Who's handling it? What happens when those things come up? I mean, it's just incredible. So Jackie, just want to say hi here. I forgot to go into the comments right away at the beginning. Hello, Jackie. Welcome, and thanks for letting everyone as Jackie said, yes. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Support the channel, please, so we can get this very, very delicate and important message out there, so everyone knows what's going on. So as Now Questioning says, big fat lie. Absolutely. So this person, the other thing that they said, and I think we can expand on this one quite a bit, and I'm sure Jeff, you'll have plenty to say about this one. This person said in his comment that the elders are not police or lawyers, and they cannot interrogate members of the congregation. Okay, let me say that one more time, everybody, just in case you didn't catch that. This person said that the JW elders are not lawyers, nor are they police officers, and they cannot interrogate members of the congregation. So what do you think about that?
Well, my thing is, what do they think when they say that? Like, okay, how do you define interrogation? What's your, what do you mean by interrogation? And I think if they say that, you can parse words all you want, but there's just a lack of common sense in that statement overall. Like we know they're not police or lawyers or whatever, but you have to be kidding yourself or delusional to believe that statement if you're going to say it.
Yeah, and I think to me it just seems like the witnesses, because that's what they are. They're witnesses. They always say that they aren't, or they say that, like this one person, oh, I have my own channel, but I'm not a witness though, but they're good people, and it's like, come on, dude. It's like, just stop, right? You know that you are, right? If they weren't, they would have absolutely nothing to do with us. They wouldn't even be interested. But yeah, it's like, I wonder, I think they're just basically like trolling. They know it's a complete lie. They just want to say no. They want to say the contrary. But evidently, the people making these comments have never seen a judicial committee in their life, or they have no idea what happens. Okay, and that's why I think it's very important for people to, to read the Shepherd the Flock of God book, because there's a whole chapter just on judicial committees. There's a whole chapter dedicated to that subject, and I mean, we can argue over words, I guess. What type of word you want to use, whether it be interrogation or questioning, or which to me, it's all the same, right? Yeah. But oh hell yes, you do. You're gonna get grilled up and down, back and forth, and the juicier the sin is, the more they're gonna ask you questions about it, and details and what happened, and what did you do, and we've all heard the horror stories about, like, when it's fornication or adultery or things like that, and that's absolutely 100% the truth. So it just, you see those things and you go, no wonder. I mean, are these people for real? Are they really believing this stuff? And then you wonder why the pedophiles are able to run amok in the congregations, with this kind of denial that's going on. So not questioning says that's even worse to interrogate, especially in a judicial hearing. Questions are awful humiliation. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, they are.
And then I was thinking too, like the whoever posted that comment should go and tell the others that they're watching and interacting on apostate channels, and then they can see what it's like on a. They can see that they don't get interrogated in a committee.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's, I think, it's kind of all a part of the cognitive dissonance, right? I mean, it's just the fact that they're defending this faith, right, on one side, and yet at the same time, by even being there and doing that, they're being disobedient, right? Because they're as a witness, you're not supposed to try and refute apostates. You're not supposed to talk to them at all. And of course, we know that there's a reason behind that, because you just might get convinced, right? I mean, you do it enough and you might start hearing something that makes sense. The governing body knows that, and that's why they tell people that, I mean, vehemently, that you do not talk to apostates, right? It's not because we're wrong. It's because they're afraid that we might convince somebody, right? That's the danger. It's the same reason why they say, like, don't go to psychologists, don't go to a therapist and stuff like that, because they'll lead you out of the truth and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's really amazing. Well, and that led us in. This was all this stuff. All that these comments I'm talking about was from one person. This was in the same comment. They had like a bulleted list, And so the other one that he talked about, and honestly, I didn't know, so I went to look it up, but it seemed like from what he said in his comment, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I can't believe that's true, because he said that, reporting, he said, oh, we do report, but, but it depends on each state. And then, for example, like in Florida, he actually said that in Florida, witnesses, the elders, are not allowed. That's what he said. They're not allowed to report. And I was like, what? I said, why would a law not allow you to report? That doesn't make any sense at all. That sounds like somebody that doesn't understand what the law really says. Maybe they didn't read it well, or they didn't interpret it the right way. And so this was a couple hours ago, and I went and looked it up myself, and I started reading it. So if you want to do this yourself, guys, on the channel, in the community post, I posted the link to this page with the law. It's from I can't remember the name of the website, but it's from the state of Florida. Okay, it's from the state of Florida, and it's called Section 39. That's the law that has to do with mandated CSA reporting. And so you go in there, and there'll be like a list of chapters, and the second chapter, chapter number 2, deals with the guidelines for reporting. Okay, you can go there and check it out yourself. And what you'll see in there is that there's two groups of people. Okay, there's two groups of people. This is what I want you guys to understand. This person that made that comment, either he's completely cynical and he knows he's lying completely, or he's just not smart enough to understand what he read. Okay, if you read that law, there's two groups of people. There's one group of people that can report. There's a hotline that they have in Florida with the Child Protection Services. There's a hotline that you can call, and you can do it anonymously. Okay, you don't have to give your name or anything else, and you can call in anonymously. That's one group. The second group is, there are a group of people, professionals, who are obligated to identify themselves and give all their identification when they report. Who are those? Well, there's a list of, if I remember, Jeff, you might have it up there. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm on my cell phone, but there's physicians, doctors, police officers, people who work for the judicial system, practitioners, nurses, professional people that might come into contact with a victim, right? A victim comes and they report it to them. They are obligated, when they report, they have to identify themselves. So that means nobody is exempt from reporting CSA. Okay, nobody is exempt from reporting CSA. If you have knowledge, it says this in the law, any person that has knowledge of CSA is obligated to report it. And if you are found that you had knowledge of CSA and you did not report it, you're guilty of a third-degree felony. And what's a third-degree felony in the state of Florida? A $5,000 fine and 5 years of jail time. Okay, 5 years of jail time. That's the penalty for it. So I'm sorry to Ron Hansen and all the other people that were commenting on the other video trying to refute this, but everybody in that state, everybody is obligated to report. It's just that not everybody is obligated to give their name.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about that, wouldn't that just make it easier for the witnesses, right? Because the elders are so worried, and the governing body is so worried about their brand, and so worried about reproaching Jehovah's name. That should make it that much easier. They're not mandated to identify themselves. Clergy are not a part of that. Okay, clergy is not a part of the ones who are mandated to identify themselves. So much better, right? They can call the hotline anonymously, an elder, whoever it's brought to their attention, maybe during a judicial committee, or somebody comes to report something. Call the hotline, report it, and you're done with it, right? You did your duty, you reported it, and then you can tell the person, if you need to, go to the authorities as well. But you did your part. And this is what we've talked about in videos before. when you are a person in a position of authority, whether it be a religious leader or a teacher, or whatever you are, okay, and somebody comes to you, they tell you that they've suffered abuse or they've been abused in whatever fashion that might be, it is now your responsibility to do something about it. Once somebody tells you about it, now it's your responsibility. You can't just throw the ball back to the victim and say, oh, okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Go ahead and report it if you want to, right? They'll have a million reasons not to. Victims have all kinds of reasons. They're scared, they're ashamed, they've been threatened, all kinds of stuff. So you are the one in control and you have to report it. And so Florida gives you the option, if you are a religious leader, to report anonymously. And yet they still won't do it. And this guy's comment reflects that, right? And it's just amazing. It's like, why, and like in the last video that I made, okay, about how the disfellowshipping practice really, all it does is it removes the abuser from the congregation. Oh, great. Well, that's fine, right? Great. So you kicked him out of your congregation, but that person is just going to go to the next one or go somewhere else and continue abusing people. That's the same thing that the Catholic Church did. What did the Catholic Church always do? When they got wind of a priest who was abusing children, they'd move him to another parish. They would just move him around. So what would happen? He goes to the next place and the victims are multiplied, right? They just keep building up and building up as this guy bounces all over the place, right? So it's amazing to me that witnesses see that and they criticize other religions because of that, and yet they can't see it in their own. So Jackie says here, I had to call the CPS and cops did nothing because they were homeless druggies who were placed in a condo. It's horrific. Yeah, I mean, the CPS or whatever it's called in your state, obviously they're far from perfect, right? I mean, they're far from perfect, but you do what you got to do. I mean, you can only do so much. I understand that completely. Once it's in the authorities' hands, if they drop the ball, if they don't do something about it, well, I mean, what can you do? All you can do is maybe keep reporting it, keep trying, but at least as a lot of people mentioned before in the community post, I had a couple of comments there. You fulfilled your moral obligation, right? You reported it. You did what you could, and then in the congregation, take whatever steps you can to protect that person. So it's sad that this keeps going on, and that even in 2025, there are people that still have this attitude towards this subject, right? And they keep like defending it basically. So let me see here. So now questioning, my recommendation to all JW is closely read the published pedo list in their area. Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, pretty much in the end, I think we really do need to focus on just creating awareness in regular people, whether you're Jehovah's Witnesses or not, and protect yourself. Protect yourself, because you're not always going to be able to trust in certain professionals or religious leaders to do what they're supposed to do. If they're Jehovah's Witnesses, definitely they're not going to do it. So, yeah, absolutely. Let me see here. Give me a second. So that's, and we've seen the on the part of the Watchtower organization how they were instructed to destroy files and things like that, which, I mean, at very best is very questionable. So your thoughts, Jeff, on the topic? You've been reading you read some of the law that I sent you?
I went through a little bit. Everything you said was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Just with me, what I found interesting, like as I was waking up, wasn't so much that there was CSA going on in the organization, because to me it can happen anywhere, and it does. What really, really got me was like what they go through to cover it up. And like it's like not even accidental cover up or incompetence. It's systemic. It's systemic cover ups and it's cultural cover ups. Because you look at other organizations, like and that's what that's anybody that's seen the Royal Commission. The takeaway is, for one, if an ex-witness if a current witness is watching like the Royal Commission or anything like that in any country, is they weren't going there. They didn't set it up to just like nail companies or religions or groups. Like it was set up to say, look, who has a problem? What's the problem? How do we address it? And what are you going to do to fix it? Like, that's it. And even though, it's years ago, the culture has still stayed where, the witnesses are still the only ones that culturally try so hard to act like nothing's happening.
Right.
How hard is it to face it? How hard is it to say, look, we have a problem, let's fix it, as opposed to constantly pretending?
Absolutely.
So I hope that part of it helps people see it's not and it's like, to me, it's not even about all witnesses are persecuted. It's not even that. It's nothing to do with them being targeted. It's them doing exactly what you're not supposed to. It's so common sense. It's so common sense. Like, how do you have a culture of elders? Oh, hey, what's up, Ruby?
Yeah, Ruby, there's the link. Come on in if you want. Join us. You brave? But yeah, go ahead.
How do you have, like, from congregation to congregation, like a culture of a body of elders, and collectively they're either too scared or don't want to speak up? What does that say about the organization from the top?
Right. Yeah,
it's something for anybody that's still in to think about.
And you know what? One of the things I think about, and I think somebody, I can't remember if somebody here. There's so many. I read so many comments during the day. I can't keep track of. But if someone here said it, please let me know if it was you. It might have been Jackie or somebody. I don't know. But somebody said something to the effect that this whole thing about abuse comes all the way from the top. Like they're practicing this. They're abusing people. Because when I look at that, and then I start analyzing how what you said, Jeff, about it's being systemic, and you see them like carefully, like, okay, well, the states that we have to report in, report it, and then the ones that we don't do it, right? And then, oh, if we're getting investigated, like in Pennsylvania, destroy all your documents, and it's like, so it seems like to me like this goes way deeper than just your casual, like, oh, they're like you said, absolutely. CSA happens in every single type of organization. Happens in schools, happens in churches. It's a human problem. It's a human problem. But in this case, in this organization, it seems like the real pedophiles in this case, the chomos in this case, are right up in the governing body as well. And they make very careful so that this can continue happening in certain places and other places no. Like, hey, it's like behind closed doors, what are they talking about? What are they saying to each other? Like, hey, you can have, between themselves, like what would abusers to themselves talk about? They would brag about what they've done, and they talk about how they get with these young people. We can do this here, you can do this there. But you have to be careful. This state we can't do it, but this one we can. But because it seems like, it's not just a random thing. They're being, like you said, they're being very, very, very deliberate about this and very careful about it, on, kind of skirting the laws where they can, finding loopholes. So it seems like this whole thing is a lot more sinister and goes a lot deeper than what it even seems, right? Than what we've found out now. And it's really scary. It's really scary. But you see that as well. Like in politics, we see it in politics. We see it in Hollywood. We see it in the sports world. We see it, where there are lots of cover-ups. There are lots of situations going on that are getting, exposed all the time of, groups of human trafficking and of children and all these things. And who knows just how extensive this is, and how many religions are also involved in this. So, and we're going to welcome in here as well, very special guest, Ruby Quinn. How are you doing, Ruby?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey,
Good. How have you been?
Doing good. No, just wanted to hop on and let you know that you're making the best point ever. It's a moral issue.
Yeah.
And if you claim to be Christian, then your morals will dictate that you do everything in your power to to protect the vulnerable, the women, the children, the orphans, the widows, etc. But they don't practice what they preach, and that's the problem.
Mhm.
And it's up to us to expose that, because they never will. They will continue to go to the Kingdom Hall, continue to pretend to be Christians, and that's the worst part, is that now that I converted to true Christianity, I realize how disgusting they are to call themselves Christians, and their actions are nothing close to what a Christian should be. So that's the only reason why I make the videos I do. I talk about CSA all the time on my videos, because it is disturbing to me that they would allow pedophiles to walk into a Kingdom Hall, but any one of us, they would kick us out in 2.3 seconds if they saw us, or if we tried to speak about it. They would kick us out, but the pedophile gets to sit there and enjoy his meeting. No, it's disgusting. So yeah, unfortunately, I've had to deal with that personally, and I've had to see one of my Jehovah's Witness uncles, get all the privileges back, be reinstated. I don't know if I probably spoke about this before, but he gets to go, but they shun me just because I converted. So it's really disgusting. But anyways, just wanted to let you guys know that, and you're making great points.
No, and I know that that's. I'm glad you joined us, because I know you've got plenty to say on this topic. In fact, I was hoping more people would join, because I got a comment the other day on one of my videos that in so many words they said that I talk too much. So so I think they were well meaning, but I said, okay, well, I'll shut my mouth then and let my invited guest talk. But so Ruby, I don't know if you I don't think you'd heard, like at the very beginning, we were talking about, and maybe you've checked this out before, I don't know, just in case. But so I had a person who was commenting about how there's different laws about CSA reporting in different states, and he mentioned specifically Florida, and said that something was completely false, completely a lie, that the elders in the state of Florida are not supposed to report CSA according to the law. And I think the guy just thought I was going to take that at face value. So I went and looked it up. I looked up the law, and there's nothing farther from the truth. Everybody is obligated to report. It's just that there are certain people, certain professionals, such as doctors, people who work for the judicial system, police officers, teachers. If they learn of CSA, when they report it, they have to identify themselves.
Yeah.
Other than that, everybody else, you're still obligated, but you can do it anonymously, right? Yeah. So, and they still won't do it. And so I'm like, well, isn't that what you want? I mean, they want to protect the congregation, right? In Jehovah's name. So if you can report CSA anonymously, why would you not do it? What do you think about that?
Exactly. That's the exact point that I was trying to make to my mother, that I've always said it's not a legal issue. It has nothing to do with the government or the laws. It's about you as a person, your character, your morals, and your
Right.
religion. And if that's what you
Right
believe,
on.
and you believe what the Bible says, then it doesn't matter what the law says or doesn't say. You do the right thing on your own and you reveal that. But they want to pretend to be a religion. They want to pretend to be priests, and they want to hide behind the clergy penitent privilege law. So in some states, they want to hide behind that. But my thing is, you're not even clergy. You're not even a priest according to your own standards. So you don't want to go to
Right.
school and get official and get certified as a real priest and do confessions as Christendom does it. You want to be so different, but you want to hide behind the law that is for them. So it's all
Absolutely.
backwards. It's all backwards, and that's why I call they're not Christian. That's why I always want to like make that point, is that they are not Christian and that they are not a religion. They are a cult, and we have to call them what they really are. We need to
Mm-hmm.
deregister them as a religion so that they don't get the tax exempt status. They don't hide behind the clergy law, and then we could start really talking about the law to
Yeah.
force them to
And
do the right thing.
right. And they still won't accept that they have a clergy. They still won't accept it. I mean, even though they've claimed that status, but in their literature and on jw.org, it still says that that's one of their, like, you
Right,
know, they're proud of that. We do not have a clergy. And it's like,
right,
who are they trying to fool? This information is out there. Everybody knows this now. And I've even had some these hidden witnesses that come on and make comments kind of trip up and actually say that, like, oh, the clergy. And I was like, well, thank you for recognizing finally that you have a clergy. And then they kind of backpedal and, oh, well, what I was saying was, I'm like, no, no, no.
yeah,
you know
that's
so
exactly
that, but no, they're not. That's a excellent point, Ruby. Is that's what people need to understand. The Jehovah's Witnesses are not Christians. In fact, they are antichrist. Jehovah's
right,
Witnesses are antichrist because everything that is related to Jesus Christ is against him. Okay, they celebrate his death, not his life, not his resurrection. They celebrate his death. They keep you from partaking in the um, in the emblems at the
right,
memorial. They teach you that he's not God. So everything is against Christ, right? When you start looking at it, you go, "Oh my God, this is totally antichrist," because everything they teach about Jesus is to keep you away from him, right?
right.
So
Exactly.
it's yeah, and so yeah, it's a really hard. This is a really really hard thing. It's a hard road. We're fighting against the current, and you know better than anybody, fighting with family members, trying to convince them. Have you made
Yeah.
any headway with anybody, or the same?
No, they don't talk to me at all ever since I got baptized
Yeah.
on Christmas Eve to Orthodoxy. They completely stopped talking to me. Um, but you know what? There is another side effect to this problem, is because when they do want to hide behind the law with the clergy penitent privilege, the real Christians are the ones who are fighting against that. And it may look like they are trying to hide behind that law as well, but there is a difference, which is also important to note. The Catholics and Christians, that it is their canon law to support the confessional seal. Now that I had to educate myself on that. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Right.
felt like, well, are they trying to hide pedophiles? And it's like, no, it's a religious thing when it comes to the confessional seal. And if you want to have freedom of religion in America, you do have to respect religious aspects of their worship because it is a sacrament. So
Correct.
now that we understand what Christianity really is, we start to understand their position. And it's not that they want to protect pedophiles or abuse. No, it's that whatever is said in confession, the priest doesn't have to say where he heard the information from. He can come anonymously, like you said before, and he can report the person. There is no law that tells you what to do or what you can't do. But what they're
Mm-hmm.
saying is, as a priest, if he hears it in a confession, he cannot just say he heard it in confession, because that would be grounds for excommunication within their religion. So you see,
Right.
everybody wants to claim freedom of religion, but we have to play it very careful and very safe, so that you are not imposing on somebody else's religious beliefs. But what we
Mm-hmm.
want to do is we want to compromise in the middle, and we want to have anonymous, tips or a phone call or anything. And you know what? They would actually do it because they're real Christians and they really believe in the Bible and they really do believe in hell and things like that. That there will be other consequences. That is not just man-made laws that we should be afraid of. You should be afraid of your creator, your God,
Correct.
because you're going straight to hell if you let pedophiles around your congregation. They are the real wolf in sheep's clothing, letting a pedophile brush shoulders with your children. So Jehovah's Witnesses are not Christian.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I just wanted to leave you guys with that, and I'll let you go because I could go all night with this.
Oh, please. You can. No one's kicking you out. You can stay.
Yeah, no, I just
That's
wanted
no
to hop
problem.
on to share that with you, and I'm
Yeah.
glad you're talking about it, because it doesn't matter how much or how little you talk about it. You just need to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there needs to be some type of exposure, because we know it's happening. My uncle is a
Yeah.
pedophile, and he attends the meetings. He goes to JW events with kids, and it is
Yeah.
disturbing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I literally had to go down the rabbit hole of trying to find out, how do I report this guy? Because they
Yeah.
act as if nothing ever happened. Their religion condones it. Their family condones it. The whole community condones it. So who are
Right.
we? We are not good citizens if we don't report this.
Exactly.
We don't expose that. And we're not good Christians if we don't say how it really goes on within these so-called religious places. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where my respect stops, right there. I don't
Right.
respect them when I know that this is happening.
Right. Well, and that's what we talked about. Jeff and I talked about that before when we were looking at uh, the priest, the clergy privilege, the secrecy privilege, and to the credit of, for example, the Catholic Church and other Protestant religions that have been around for thousands of years, literally, right? Um, this practice of the secrecy and confessions has been around for millennia, literally millennia, and so that's a part, like you said, Ruby. That's a part of their religious order. They have
Right.
confessions. There's a whole protocol set up for that. Then all of a sudden, within the last, like, what, maybe 10 years or so, all of a sudden, the Jehovah's Witness organization, Watchtower, who boasted in its literature about not having confession, it's not biblical, the way the Catholic Church does it.
Right.
The clergy privilege is immoral. It covers up things, and then all this stuff about the church, and then all of a sudden, when all this stuff, because of social media, within the past, I would say 10 years or so, 15 years, starts coming out, all these lawsuits coming up out of nowhere because of CSA, left and right. What do? They jump on the bandwagon and they start applying for clergy status. And that's exactly what happened, right? Because of the fact that, not because it's never been a part of the religion, it's never been a part of the organization to have confessions or a clergy or any of that, but because they were getting in trouble and losing money, they jumped on that and they claimed that privilege.
Yep.
Which is just, anybody that you can't see that blinding hypocrisy in that. And it's just evil, really.
Yeah.
And
It
one
is
of the
evil.
things I was talking to somebody about a few days ago, it's like, as far as the whole cover-up culture, and it doesn't just affect people that are in the congregation. There was somebody that was very, very close to me, and this person was a victim of abuse. And the abuse they suffered was by somebody who wasn't a witness. It was a family member, but not a witness. Well, what happened was there was such a culture of keeping your mouth shut, acting like nothing's there, pretending it away, that this person's abuse and abuser was never addressed. Never addressed. You know, so it's not just that people that are in the congregation, you know, are victims from within the congregation. They can be victims of the culture from what happens to them on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're much more likely, even though in that case, like you're mentioning, it didn't happen, but they would be much more likely to report somebody that was an abuser that's not a witness
Yeah.
than they would someone who's in the congregation, because it would have no bearing on the congregation, you know. And I always tell people when it comes to, like, for example, this person who was making comments the other day about what he said about, like, the, you know, the elders are not police and they don't interrogate you and this and that. If you go into a anybody that's had any experience with this, any Jehovah's Witness that's been in a judicial committee, or anytime you go to the elders about anything having to do with wrongdoing, sin, or anything like that, I always ask people, just to get them thinking, what is the very, very first thing? This is generally before the judicial committee. It's before the judicial committee. When you first go to the elders, you kind of like, hey, I need to talk to you about something. You know, there's something weighing on my mind. Okay, and they're gonna let me go get somebody else. They're gonna go get someone else. The very first thing they're gonna ask you, the very first thing, who knows about this, right? Yeah,
who else knows?
Who else knows about this? And that will determine how everything else goes from that point, right? Depending on how public is it, right?
That's
Ruby, am I
shady.
lying?
That's so shady that's one of the first questions that they ask you. Because if nobody knows, then it's so much easier to keep it private, you know, cover it up, you know, be under the radar, and just deal it personally. But you know what? I wanted to read you the exact definition of a hypocrite. The exact definition. A hypocrite is a person who claims or pretends to have certain beliefs about what is right, but behaves in a way that disagrees with those beliefs. It is someone whose behavior does not meet the moral standards or match the opinions they claim to have. And that's exactly what they are. They are hypocrites. Because the Watchtower comes out with these statements. Oh, we abhor, you know, SA or CSA. It is repugnant. It's, you know, we denounce that. But what do their actions show? Is that when they encounter somebody who does this, they do nothing. They just reprove them, or they just disfellowship them. That's it. Those are religious consequences. What about the consequences when it comes to the actual law, the government, your country? Aren't we supposed to, you know, the Bible says to you know, obey our authorities, you know, pay your taxes, etc. So why are you not giving up that person to also face the consequences of the law? It goes hand in hand, you know, religion, politics, country, patriotism, your love of everything. Everything comes together. You are not just your body without your soul. You're together. So why is it that they want to separate these things? That's what I call a hypocrite. And the exact definition is exactly what they are.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's I'll have to upload this later on, now that we're talking about this. But the reason why, everyone that's listening, and thank you again, those of you who are watching in the live stream here, those who are connected, the reason why I'm bringing this up about how they ask you about who knows about it, okay? This goes beyond even our experience. I think between the three of us here, just the three of us that are here in this live stream right now that are connected, we have probably a century worth of experience with the Watchtower organization between the three of us. And beyond that, though, this is in print in the Shepherd the Flock of God manual. Okay, when I mentioned that there's an entire chapter on how judicial committees are set up, and then there's a whole list of different sins, basically, that can warrant a judicial committee and possibly disfellowshipping. Okay, and so in that, one of the things that it says there about the decision that's made in the end is based on how public has this case been, right? In so many words, it says like how many people are aware of the sin that took place. That is actually in print in the Shepherd the Flock of God book. So this isn't something we're making up, right? Nobody's making this up. And then it's corroborated by the fact, it's confirmed by the fact that all of us have at one point or another heard that from somebody, right? From an elder or at a judicial committee, you know, and then they're going to ask you that, like, you know, who else knows about this? Who else was involved? That's a big factor in what's going to happen in the end, which is shocking. And then when you actually read these things, that's why I think along with obligatory reading for any, you know, PMO or any active Jehovah's Witness that might, you know, potentially wake up, the Australian Royal Commission, but also reading the Shepherd the Flock of God manual. There are some things in there that will really shock you and open your eyes. If anybody out there that's watching right now hasn't read it, you can download it online. It's online and it's getting updated all the time, constantly. But you can find that online and download it as a PDF and read it. And once you read that manual, a lot more things will make sense to you. Believe me, a lot more things. To click here. Now, questioning says, "Yep, Jeff, me too. Questions are extremely invasive as a woman. I feel it's especially hard on us." Yes, absolutely. And if you guys remember, for example, in the case of the lawsuit that took place in Colorado some years ago, what ended up happening? Well, the Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses ended up settling out of court. Okay, so for whatever reason that happened, okay, the victims accepted it, but in the end, what did that do? It kept their name out of the limelight, right? They settled out of court. It was kind of just quashed right there, right? So, and Ruby, bring us up to date. What's going on with you right now? What are you doing? What are you doing on your channel?
Well, I do my videos about, you know, CSA stories, especially the Norway case that just happened. Unfortunately, the witnesses have won that case. And I think it's because of the position that they are a religion. Once again, we need to start proving that they're not a religion, that they are a cult, so that they could stop hiding behind freedom of religion in, you know, constitutions. So, you know, and then I also do, you know, my political show on Tuesday nights. We let go of the like Friday news because Vern from Fixing My Faith, he's sick at the moment. But until he recovers, and we'll start, you know, doing that again. We also do the Discord server. I'm really active on there, sharing a lot of activism resources, events, virtual events. We do lots of movie nights and stuff like that. We just hang out, you know, so virtually, you know, we hang out, we text, and that's about it. That's what I've been doing, and just chilling at home. You know, I'm a homeschooling mom, and you know, I've been teaching for about 2 years now at home with the kids. Yeah, so I've been doing that, and who knows, things might be changing in the future. I look forward to getting more active. We started a lot of letter writing campaigns. We started Operation Spotlight. There's a lot of different movements happening right now. Different people are getting more involved politically, talking to your representatives, exposing the witnesses in the United States of America. It needs to start happening here. You know, like it already happened in Norway, Australia, United Kingdom, lots Oh, and there's a new lawsuit happening in Brazil. I just recorded a video. I'm gonna post it tomorrow.
Oh,
But
interesting. I haven't heard about
yeah,
that. Hmm.
yeah, because it's basically human rights violations. That's basically what it is. So if
Yeah,
all of these other countries are noticing and doing lawsuits about the human rights violations, then why can't we do it? Like, we're the United States of America. We should have been the first ones on doing this.
unfortunately,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of sad to see like everybody else is doing it and we're kind of late to the game. But it's because I think it's because we just need to up our game in the XW community. We need to be a little bit more active. And if that means getting our toes wet with politics, then we need to start educating ourselves, because we know damn well that we don't know nothing about politics. And that's
yeah,
how they want it. That's exactly how they want it, because they don't want us talking and learning about how to politically, target their wallet and to target
exactly,
their status. So
exactly.
I'm very glad that I started my political stuff, that I started educating myself, and it only goes up from here. We need to start getting more involved. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing in the future.
Oh, it's very interesting. Yeah, and that's a great point. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, and that's the main reason why the organization has always kept its members out of politics. It's so that later on, they won't try to advocate and go through politics to use it against them, right? Because like you said, all of us are we're pretty, you know, ignorant when it comes to
Yeah.
politics, because we never got involved in it our whole lives, So all of us are kind of learning. Um, what was the Operation Spotlight? What's that about? Maybe you could tell us a little bit.
Oh, yes. So I did a video on this. It was initiated by Jimmy Bell, another XJW in our community, writing letters to President Trump, to the White House, to at least start an inquiry into all of these violations, which is the voting is one, the mandated shunning, the CSA, the list goes on. We want something to be done, at maybe a hearing or an investigation, something. So
Yeah,
I was very happy to be involved in that, in the promotional side of it, sharing it on my channels and all different platforms. There is a PDF file already written up. You can print it, sign it, mail it. If you want to include your own letter, you can do so, but it's 5 pages long. So it
wow.
literally
Hmm.
states every little thing that we talk about in this community. It's there, and we started sending them. So I sent mine. I decorated my envelope like the American flag, um, to at least strike curiosity. Because before it gets to DC, people are going to be seeing this envelope and they're going to say, Operation Spotlight? What's that? Because on the back
Yeah,
of the envelope, I put hashtag Operation Spotlight, hashtag be free, hashtag stop the shunning, all of these different movements that have been started. Because if you remember last year, the Be Free movement was doing protests outside of the White House, literally.
yes.
XJWs were going to the White House. So that's exactly what we're doing, but we're doing it in letters. So hundreds
Wow.
of letters have already been sent. We had a list of like 15 different countries that got involved already. And I'm still promoting it, even though the deadline was like the beginning of this month. But it doesn't matter because it's worldwide. We want everybody to get involved. So if anybody is interested, I have all the info. I can share it with you, email it to you, whatever you want. You can send this and ask governments to start noticing, because they
Wow.
won't. It's up to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome, and that is, admirable. What a force. What a force you guys have created, and I congratulate you for that. Um, and Yeah, there's so many things going on right now, And well, what I was gonna say too, that reminded me of what you just were mentioning. Can you guys imagine if, let's say, I don't know what the real numbers are. I really don't know, because you don't know if you're getting the truth or not. How many Jehovah's Witnesses there are actually, like right now? If it's, let's just say a ballpark figure. Let's say 7 or 8 million. Let's say there's 7, 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses in the world. Can you imagine if all of those people voted? Can you imagine that? That
Yeah.
changes an election. That changes the course of a country. Even if how many are in the U.S. I don't know how many. If there's a million or more, or how many hundred thousands of witnesses that there are in the United States. But if all of the American Jehovah's Witnesses voted, just them, right, just in the United States, that could change an election, right? I mean, how many people are not involved in politics and not voting because of what the religion tells them to do, right? That's just staggering when you think about that.
Yeah, that's a very great point. And even if they did vote, the organization still would dictate their politics because of what's written in their publications. Yeah. So it's like double indoctrination. So when you remove yourself from that, you are kind of in a political limbo. You don't know how you really feel because you don't know yourself. So it took a really long time to first get to know myself and then move into the political world and understand the spectrum and then understand where I fall in without religion first. And then once I, wanted to incorporate my belief system into my politics, then that's when I understood, okay, now how do I view politics in a religious sense? Because we do have, the freedom of religion, which is what they fight over. So that's when I finally entered into that side of the spectrum. And then I understood how important it is when they fight these court cases and they use their lawyers like they're snakes. They use these lawyers to fight and to defend their freedom of religion. So that's why I say to myself, we got to move away from the religious aspect because they're not a religion. They're a cult. And once they get deregistered as a religion and they are registered as a cult, then things will move like in a like a light switch. It'll start moving. But we're moving so slowly because we still consider them a religion. We have to stop that. So the exposure of the abuses is what's going to wake up the normies to finally realize how dangerous they are, how dangerous their ideology is.
And what really when we look back on C.T. Russell and J.R. Rutherford, probably more Rutherford than anybody. What an absolute genius. I mean, really, when you look at it just from an objective point of view, right? What a genius move to basically corporatize this religion that started out with Russell, right? Making this corporation, but then developing this whole thing as a religion, right? Hiding behind religion because they knew they would get all the exemptions, right? They would get treated completely different legally. And as I talked about in a previous video, and I really hate to, disclaimer, I do not support fascism or, any of this kind of stuff. But I talked about this in a past video about the letter that Rutherford sent to Hitler back in the late 1930s. And then I also showed the actual paper that Bible students had to sign to not go to the concentration camps because they never actually show it to us. You would see it in the publications, but you couldn't actually see it. And it's all in German anyway. So no one was actually, you just kind of took for granted what the Watchtower told us about what it said, right? And interestingly in there, the one part that they never show, and of course, there's also a translated document of it, is when the government, the Nazi government, I had to admit it, they hit the nail right on the head. They had Watchtower pegged. They had Watchtower figured out way back then in like 1939 because they said, this is a business that is running, it's operating under the guise of a religion. That's what it says. And when I read that, I was like, oh my God, that is, they hit the nail right on the head way back then because they said that this organization is actually working against our government. And it's not, he said it's an organization that's hiding behind the ruse, I think was the word it used, the ruse of a religion. And that's exactly what it is.
when I say the way I describe the size of the organization is it's big enough to have legitimacy, but it's small enough to fly under the radar. And I think that's the challenge too.
Absolutely. Well, and they've like in the United States, I mean, they've hoodwinked everybody for so long, right? They've been registered as a religion for so many years, so many decades, and it's really hard to change that viewpoint of them. But I think what Ruby is saying is absolutely spot on. Where the first thing that has to happen is that the government, legislators, lawmakers, the judicial part, they need to start changing their viewpoint of it as well.
Right.
Right. And just like the same way that they look at cults, right? And I've always said this since years ago that we need to update our definition of what a cult is.
Yep.
And this needs to start including, it can include political organizations, it can include businesses, it can include, these like multi-level marketing businesses and all these things. They're cults. They're cults as well. Not just the David Koresh's and the Mansons and the people like that, or the shadowy hooded figures that are sacrificing people on tables,
Right.
And yes, those are all cults as well. But there are also large corporatized, organized cults as well that have many members, not just one, or many leaders, right? Like in this case, the governing body, right? The governing body, in a sense, is a cult. It's a cult of personality, right? And people are following them.
Yeah.
So as long as I mean, if we don't change our point of view on, for example, what a religion really is, what a cult really is, then it's going to be really hard to get action against them. So it's kind of like one thing at a time, right?
Yep. Colin, you just made a really good point about the Nazi Germany era and why they were targeted. And if anybody remembers how the watchtower was called Zion's Watchtower. And when you go down the rabbit hole, and this is why I like Quinn Wright and his videos, because he really dives into like the the conspiracy theory side, but it's not really a theory, it's actually the truth. That they had Zionist origins themselves. The whole organization, Russell, his family, descendants of the elites, these bloodlines. And it's like when you go down that rabbit hole, it is so scary, but at the same time it makes sense. And then when the comment that you made, that's exactly what Germany was doing. They were cracking down on the Zionist movements that were disguising themselves as religious or businessmen or whatever it was, because they were pushing out propaganda that the Germans felt that we don't want this propaganda on our nation. And so they not condoning what they did, but they had to do what they had to do. And those were the mistakes of that generation. Now in modern times, we could take this we can do this the right way. And the right way is to do it through the law. As soon as they get classified as a new age movement, which is what they are a cult that started in the 1800s. And when you look up the definitions of what a religion is a belief system that dates back more than 2,000 years or even more than that. That's what we need to start considering religions versus cults. And once you know that, everything else would be a piece of cake. It'll be so easy to prove and to determine the human rights violations. What is right there in their publications is literally written, and they show it to you in videos. So there is nothing to deny. They literally say it themselves. And unfortunately, they think that they are doing the right thing because they are disguising it with the Bible. That's what's wrong. So it is very easy for them to wake up, because I truly believe that average Jehovah's Witnesses believe that they are Christians. And what I'm trying to say is, well, nobody's telling you not to be a Christian. Just don't be a Jehovah's Witness. You could still be Christian. You could still believe in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? You could still preach if you wanted to, because that's what the gospel tells us. But what you are doing right now is not what the Bible says. And it'll help ease the waking up process, because that's what I struggled with. I struggled with the identity of not being a Christian anymore. And I had to stop myself and say, no, nobody tells me if I'm a Christian or not. I say what I am. If I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. And if I say that, I need to do everything to the best of my ability to know what that means and to live by what the Bible says. And that goes for any religion. So it's up to us to take charge in our own lives and to practice what we preach, and to read your Bible or whatever religious book you're into, whatever faith you're into, is to actually take that seriously. Because in my opinion, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't. And they are indoctrinating their members and brainwashing them as if they do, but they don't. So that right there is what people have to understand. And the rest will be easy.
Absolutely, that's a great point. And I also tell people that if you want a really good test, and you want to convince yourself that, number one, you're in a cult, number two, you're not a Christian. Okay, two things. There's one thing that you can do that will prove both of those beyond any shadow of a doubt, that you're in a cult and you're not a Christian. And that is, if you think, for example, as an ex-witness, if you're an ex-witness and you think that Jehovah's Witnesses hate you now, you think that they're shunning you now, become a Christian. That's the test I want you to do. Because I was talking with someone the other day about who's an atheist, and they said, oh, they hate atheists and all that. And I said, well, yeah, that's probably true. But I said, you want to really know what being hated is like from Jehovah's Witnesses? If you really want to get them to hate you, because I was, for years, before I watched YouTube videos or anything like that, I was out of the organization. I was shunned and all of that, by family, friends, all of that. But when I started going to the Catholic Church, oh man, that was a whole nother level of hatred. Once they found out I was going to another church, I think they could put up with the fact that, like, I was out of the organization, or that I no longer believed in God or anything like that, because I went through that time period as well. I went through my atheist kick and all of that. But once they found out that I was actually going to another church and joined another religion, whoa, that's a whole nother level of hate. So if that were the case, if you're getting hated that much because you have confessed your faith in Jesus Christ, that should tell you all you need to know right there. What do you think, Ruby?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And just like in the comment section, now questioning, she says, I think that's because they drum it in your head that leaving the cult is leaving God. That's
Yes.
the number one red flag you're in a cult, because they assume the position of the modern day apostles, which is wrong. They are nowhere near the apostles and the struggle they had to go through back in the day. And then they put themselves right in between you and God. That's another red flag. You don't have to really go through anybody to have a relationship with God. And if you denounce the governing body, that doesn't mean you denounce God or the existence of God. So they really try to tell you, that's gaslighting. That's what it is. They gaslight you into thinking that if you do this, well, then you don't believe in God. Well, then you must be an atheist. Well, then you must be a Satanist, because you went against the new light. You went against the governing body. No. And that's the fear, that once you overcome that nobody could dictate who you are, everything will be easy from there. You make the decisions as you go. You read your Bible. You do your research about Christianity and the origins and who Jesus Christ really was. Now you will understand. And that's the journey of just being a Christian, because you finally understand what it really means to be one. And like Colin said, that's where the true attacks come from the devil, because the closer you get to the truth is the closer everything is in shambles. Like literally your whole life is in shambles, And I
Yep.
truly believe that it's because you're getting closer to what the truth is. And they
Yep.
don't want you to get to the truth. And if you are comfortable in your life and everything is going right and nothing goes wrong, that's another red flag to me too, because I'm like, wait, this is too good to be true. Like, why
Yeah.
why do I have no struggle? Why is everything okay? And it's like, no, you have to understand you're not perfect. You will make mistakes. You do sin, and you shouldn't have to be judged by men for that. You let God do the judgment for you. That's the whole point of confessing
Mhm.
and repenting, is to show that you're sorry for what you did, or to change your mentality about what's right and wrong, and
That's right.
to follow a moral code, or whatever it may be for you. But that's not for an organization to mandate what you believe or what you don't believe, to tell you
That's
how to
correct.
dress, to tell you how to talk, to tell you where to go every Saturday morning, to knock on people's
Hmm.
doors. So that
Yep.
for me, I'm glad I went through it already, and I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm stronger now to actually say that. It's because
Hmm.
I'm finally living by that. I was in limbo for a very long time, but now I'm
Yeah.
convicted. Now I go and I talk to a real priest if I have a question about the Bible or Jesus
Mm.
Christ or whatever. Like, I have a real community of people that actually care about me without conditions. It's
Correct.
unconditional love, unconditional association. Those are truly your friends. If you want to have real friends, that's what they are. And if you want to be a good friend, you just reciprocate that. It's not that hard. So that is a
Absolutely.
lot for us. Yeah, it's a lot for us because we have that trauma. We have the religious trauma. We have the social awkwardness, that trauma, because we were forced to do things we didn't want to do. But now I'm doing the exact same thing and I actually want to do it. I'm actually happy now. It's a true inner peace. It's a happiness because you're actually doing it because you want to do it. So, anyways, my computer's dying
Yeah.
and I have to hop off, but I want to
Okay.
thank you guys for
Yeah, we're
letting me
gonna
come on.
and thank you so much, Ruby, for joining us, and I appreciate all that insight. And man, we could make so many topics out of just that. Right?
I
There's
know,
so
yeah.
but we gotta have you on more, and just maybe another time we can set up a live stream and talk a little bit more about the faith and what we're
Yeah.
going through now, what we're experiencing now, as far as being ex-witnesses, and then finding Jesus, and that's a whole nother topic, because a
Yeah.
lot of people are struggling with that. A lot of ex-witnesses are struggling with that, and sometimes it's good just to hear other people's point of views and what they've been through and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah.
And Jeff, any closing comments before we hang it up here?
No, I was going to say thanks, Ruby. It was nice seeing you. And I
Oh,
really
thank
appreciated
you.
everything you had to say.
Oh, thank you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I appreciate everybody else. Thanks for coming on. Jeff, thank you for supporting always and being on. Thank you for those who have been connected and listening to the live stream. And stay tuned, because there'll be more videos coming up on the CO visit. And be blessed, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.